はい。
Well, Fanyus, it's time to settle in for another off-season Yuzu radio silence. Yuzu will not be competing at Worlds, and I think we all know what needs to be said about that. Yokata. You give us so much, Yuzu. Now please give only to yourself. And yes, that includes chocolate and ramen, so stock up and turn on your Super Nintendo. We'll wait for as long as it takes. Because while we love it when you're skating for us, we never want you limping for us. So, in episode 15 of Yuzuru Hanyu is my emergency contact, the FanyuFanme podcast, I'm going to try to lighten the mood with some Yuzu Musings. Have you ever wondered if Yuzu forgets his password or runs out of paper towels? If you answered, "Hi," this is the episode for you. Then I'll talk about why I made Yuzu my emergency contact. It's the namesake for the blog and this podcast, and it's finally getting its moment in the sun, just like Yuzu on his way to his Olympics press conference. So come wander with me as we wait. And wait. And then possibly wait some more to hear what's next from Yuzu. And I don't mean a password reset.
せーの。
Things I wonder about Yuzu. Every Fanyu has them. The random thoughts that enter your mind while waiting for Yuzu's warm-up group to come on the ice. Or when you're supposed to be paying attention to a meeting at work. We all know what happens. Is his favorite moment in Tokyo Ghoul the same as mine? What does his room look like? How tall is he really? But I have started to find my musings are becoming extremely specific. Does Yuzu ever wait in line? Think about it. Can you realistically picture Yuzu standing in line at McDonald's? How about in a waiting room? Imagine going into a dentist office and looking over at the chair next to the aquarium. There sits Yuzu, flipping through Figure Skater magazine. You would have to be picturing this happening in Japan in order for the Figure Skater magazine part to be real. If you're picturing him in a dentist office in America, he's watching the seemingly endless loop of Property Brothers. He'd probably have his earphones in and be lip syncing to psych himself up for the best teeth polishing of his life. But does Yuzu really ever have to wait anywhere? I would think he has a universal fast pass wherever he goes. That or one of a few other options. A, he has someone who can go pick up his McDonald's for him. This is another job for which I volunteer. If we're still counting, that's Yuzu's Ghana commercial scarf holder, fanner, or hair adjuster, and wrapping Yuzu in bubble wrap as my potential new careers. B, he has a back entrance to any doctor office appointments. Or C, he simply doesn't go. For which I mean to McDonald's. Yuzu's too responsible to skip a doctor's appointment. Does his family have bad photos of him? A bad photo of Yuzu seems to defy the laws of photography, but they must be out there. Surely there's a not-so-great one of him holding up a birthday gift. Somehow I just don't think that the usual comments at family gatherings apply in Yuzu's orbit. Well, I look good in this one, but Yuzu doesn't. Oh wait, your eyes were closed. I'll delete these three. Your hair was doing something funny. Okay, so that last one is completely unrealistic, but you get the gist. The mere thought of unstaged, not on ice, not on a commercial set Yuzu photos is hard to imagine, but they must exist. Surely not everything in Yuzu's closet has his name embroidered on it or is a beautifully handcrafted work of art. There's got to be at least one Tokyo Ghoul t-shirt. Does Yuzu have a favorite piece of clothing? Everyone has it. The favorite t-shirt, hoodie, or pair of shoes. Sometimes they're an inexplicable favorite that no one other than you sees. Mine is a Gossip Girl sweatshirt with Chuck Bass on it. It reads, "I'm all about that bass." I doubt Yuzu's favorite has a really bad pop culture English pun on it, or Chuck Bass. Maybe it's a sweatshirt with Poohsan's face that says, I love whinnying. While it's probably something really casual and cozy, I'm sure we Fanyus would end up adding of sin to the end of it. That used to be reserved for the purple pants of sin. Then the stars on ice white polo shirt happened. And while A, that really didn't do it for me. Sacrilege, I know. And B, in America, we would call that fitted or a women's extra extra large instead of too small. It managed to get the revered suffix. Pretty soon, we're just going to start adding of sin to the end of every article of clothing Yuzu owns. I know Clone Me would be all about t-shirt of sin. But where does it end? ANA hoodie of sin? Toe socks of sin? Gray pajamas of sin? Okay, that last one actually works too. In fact, a lot. Does he run out of paper towels? Because this is an unbelievably plebeian problem. It just seems strange to think of Yuzu reaching for something to find that he's run out. This musing can be easily adjusted by subbing in any other everyday household item. Toothpaste, milk, tissue boxes for Poohsan. And then how does he get these things? This sends us back to the waiting in line musing. I guess there's always online shopping, which leads us to, does he ever forget his password? Granted, I guess remembering land for Axel exclamation point for every single login may not be that difficult. To be clear, I do not know Yuzu's password. So don't bother trying to hack into his Amazon Japan account to view his purchase history. But if you do, and it works, wouldn't that be something? Let me know what brand of shampoo he's currently ordering. I'm dying to know if it's still Pantene or if that whole story about his house always smelling like Pantene was just expertly crafted by P&G to get me, other fans to blindly buy their product. Does Yuzu drive? Some of the more covert Fanyus may have the actual answer to this question. Maybe this has been talked about somewhere and I've just missed it. We know he couldn't ride a bicycle, but that's about it for the Yuzu transportation thread. For some reason, this is one of the hardest things in the world for me to picture. But if you want to go even further, try picturing him pumping gas. Hang in there, Earthy Fanyus, you can do this. And there is not a doubt in my mind that if Yuzu were to get out of a vehicle and start a transaction at the pump, he would absolutely get the "See Cashier" notice flashed up on the screen. I mean, if you were the cashier, wouldn't you make that happen? Add gas station attendant in Sendai to my potential new careers list. P.S. I bet even his driver's license photo is great.
完成です。
I've already started a list of more things I wonder about Yuzu. If you have your own extremely specific thing you wonder about Yuzu, feel free to share it on any of FanyuFanme's social media accounts. And who knows, maybe I'll wonder it too, and it will end up in a future podcast episode. But if anyone has ever wondered where the name for FanyuFanme's blog and podcast came from, this next post explains it. Many of these blog posts were written long before FanyuFanme came into existence. When I decided to start the blog and share my Yuzu Musings worldwide, my blog needed a name. And when I came across this post, I knew there was no question. Probably much like what happened the first time Yuzu tried on his UA training outfit. But that is a thought for another time, and possibly another dark corner. For now, I would just like to say arigatou gozaimashita to this post for launching FanyuFanme and giving it a name that becomes more and more true with every passing day.
せーの。
I'm considering making Yuzuru Hanyu my emergency contact. Think about it. Hospitals must work pretty hard to reach someone's emergency contact in the case of, an emergency. I think I'll get a bracelet that says, in case of emergency, contact Yuzuru Hanyu. And just leave it at that. Heck, I'll even help by adding in Sendai. That also makes things safer for me in case the name Yuzuru is more common than I think. I could include his picture as added backup, but that's just weird. Then, in the unfortunate event that I'm struck by lightning or hit by a bus, at least I'll have waking up to Yuzu standing over me looking confused, though also possibly pissed, to look forward to. And anyway, my mom informed me the other day that what I need is to find someone who, wait for it, speaks Japanese. Granted, she said this as a result of my complaining that I wasn't learning Japanese fast enough to comprehend all the Yuzu interviews I was watching. I still made sure to point out that she was stating a known fact. I did it subtly, with a half snort, half guffaw, followed by the loud exclamation, "Well, duh!" But I don't think she believes Yuzu and I would co-inhabit well. We were watching my favorite Yuzu video, the one where he makes hot chocolate as though defusing a bomb. And as he carefully poured the milk into the mug as if transferring plutonium into a reactor, my mom asked, "Can you imagine if you and Yuzu lived together?" I think I've made it pretty clear that I already imagine Yuzu and I live together, but that's beside the point. She went on to explain you would out-particular each other. To be honest, her first statement was something to the effect of, "Just think how anal it would be." But then even she admitted that may not have been the best choice of words. Ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. Unconcerned about Yuzu and I arguing over who gets to vacuum the vacuum cleaner, which I've already decided would be settled by the person who didn't get to vacuum getting to fold the triangle point on the toilet paper roll, my sister is quite keen on the idea of our cohabitation. In fact, she already considers her completely real K-pop boyfriend Chansung and Yuzu to be brothers-in-law, or as she refers to them, bros. I have a hard time imagining Yuzu calling anyone bro. I think it's the same reason I'm highly amused whenever I see him fist bump someone. There's something very American about it. Though it may also be funny because it's often between two guys wearing quite a few sequins and gloves with frilly cuffs. That's right, badass figure skaters. But back to the bros. I can just imagine our 4th of July family cookouts. Chansung and Yuzu tossing the baseball back and forth. It was going to be funnier to make it a football so I could make some joke about pigskin and Chansung's eating habits, but Yuzu really does love Yakyu, and I'm determined to keep my fantasies as accurate as possible. I'd be setting up the projector for a Tokyo Ghoul marathon. Yuzu and I won the coin toss. And my sister would be filming it all with her selfie cam upside down. Later, Chansung, being the Korean meaty man he is, will take over the barbecuing. If we're lucky, there will be some food left once he's finished. If not, Yuzu will just crack some eggs on the grill for us. I'll want mine well done, Yuz. Even Pimsleur seems on board with this matrimonial plan. The other day, they taught me one of the saddest, but perhaps most useful, sentences so far. Where is my husband? It came completely out of the blue. One minute they're teaching me how to bargain shop and order beer. Pimsleur has a very, very different idea of what my first trip to Japan will involve. And the next minute, they want to help me find my missing soulmate. Well, at least we finally agree on something, Pimsleur-sensei. I figure it's also the only sentence I'll need to know if I ever go to see Yuzu skate in Japan. I'll hand the ticket taker my ticket, buy my Winnie's in the Foist t-shirt, after bartering in Japanese, of course, and then start asking everyone I see, "Shujin wa doko desu ka?" And that is when having a picture of Yuzu on my emergency contact bracelet would really come in handy. I'm sure they'd just usher me straight to him, no questions asked. And then there'd be that confused and possibly pissed look again. Maybe he'd at least sign my Winnie's t-shirt.
完成です。
I think I can safely say every Fanyu would be willing to be listed as Yuzu's emergency contact. So Yuzu, next time you go to the doctor, you might want to take some extra paper with you, because that is going to be one long list of names to add to your file. After this past week on Twitter, I started to consider whether I needed to change the name of the blog and the podcast to Yuzuru Hanyu Goat Emoji is my emergency contact. But that could have gotten difficult to translate. In fact, I have to tell this story. I will occasionally run my English to Japanese translations past a Japanese friend of mine. We'll call him Saboten-san. One night we were having a line video call, and I held my phone up to the screen with my Japanese translation of Yuzuru Hanyu is my emergency contact, and asked him to tell me what he thought it said in English. He immediately started laughing. I panicked that I was having another "your dick is a weapon" moment. If you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to episode 2. When he finally stopped giggling, he stated, "Yuzuru is not your emergency contact. Au contraire." Don't worry, that's all the French I know. In fact, after almost 2 years of typing and speaking this title, it has become completely ingrained in my consciousness. I was recently checking into a doctor's appointment, and the receptionist asked me for my emergency contact, to which I replied without hesitation, Yuzuru Hanyu. And suddenly, the criminally handsome Japanese man wearing iyahon and sitting next to the aquarium replied,
Let me correct you.
If Yuzuru Hanyu, or Yuzuru Hanyu Goat Emoji, is your emergency contact too, follow FanyuFanme on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Redbubble, YouTube, or FanyuFanme.com as we unintentionally continue to confound receptionists the world over. Until next time, say it with me, Yuzuru Hanyu. Goat emoji! The FanyuFanme podcast is a Back to the Forest production.
Back to the forest? Just kidding.